I'm Maxime Chevrier. I'm a sports psychology consultant. I've been working for the past 14 years with many athletes, amateur, professional athletes, Olympic athletes. I did my study in psychology. I specialize on pain, chronic pain. So my thesis was exactly to work on what part of your brain is activated when you see pain, but also what part of your brain is activated when you feel pain, and to work on empathy. And that's something I'm using a lot right now in my clinic. Yes, for chronic pain injuries, but also for mindfulness and other different types of intervention I'm doing in my practice. I played high elite hockey as well, so I always liked the sports side of psychology. I always liked neurosciences. When I started in psychology, I didn't really understood what was neurosciences, what was neuropsychology. But with time during my degree, this is something I was really aiming for. That's why I specialized after my degree in neurosciences and sports psychology. So right now with NeuroTracker, I can do both. I'm also the owner of Synapse Plus and of Axio, of medical clinics. With Synapse Plus, I decided to create that almost 10 years ago, almost the same time I started using NeuroTracker, because I realized the importance of neuroplasticity, but also the importance of working as a team. Me as a clinician, I can do a lot, but I have my limits. But working with MDs, working with physiotherapists, with OT, with other specialists, that was for me the best way to improve performance. And for me, performance is not only about athletes, it's in their daily life. I'm going to use my example. I use NeuroTracker for myself, obviously, for the past almost 9-10 years now. And I can see that my fatigue went down a lot. So right now, I can sustain a lot of meetings. And you see with Zoom, a lot of people right now are complaining with Zoom meetings. I mean, I can do the Zoom meetings for the entire day, and I feel I'm sharp at the end of the day. So for me, that's a big plus. And same thing when I started my PhD, something I was really open to learn is, how does the brain work? Yes, I wanted to know how to use psychotherapy, but my main goal was, how can I adapt my practices to how your brain works? How can I create neuroplasticity? And with NeuroTracker, I didn't find any tools better than NeuroTracker right now to do that. I know there are a lot of studies with NeuroTracker neuroplasticity that Mario Beauregard, for example, a neuropsychologist at Montreal University did. Brendan Person, I think, too, did some studies on neuroplasticity, and you can see how it works. And that's something for me was really important. Yes, to see some case study, but at the same time, when the science backs it, it's much better for me, and that's what the NeuroTracker does. So I'm really happy about it. So I can work with athletes, and at the same time I can work the brain. So it was the perfect fit for me. That's why for almost 10 years now I'm working with NeuroTracker. I started mostly with athletes because at the beginning I was not as confident in myself as a clinician to use NeuroTracker in many different fields, and the studies were not out that much with many studies cases on autism, on ADHD, athletes that has ADHD, which is often the case. I realized that NeuroTracker was really helpful, yes, for athletes, but also not only in their sports, but also in their day-to-day at school, their job, or any other tasks they were doing at home. So for me, that was the key, basically, to use NeuroTracker more widely with my clientele. And now, I mean, almost any injuries that you come in my clinic, I will use NeuroTracker to work with. As a clinician, when I started back then, almost 15 years ago, I was working a lot with the kids and teenagers. My specialty as a clinician is CBT, so cognitive behavioral therapy, so to work on behaviors, but also on how you think, so change your patterns basically in your brain. So that's what I was doing a lot with teenagers, with phobia, like I said, a bit with chronic pain too, depression, anxiety. This is what I was doing a lot. Then after that, I did a specialty in abnormal psychology. I was working a lot with mental health issues, and I realized in sports, there's a lot of athletes that does as OCD, as anxiety, as some phobia and all that. So I was working more and more with athletes, and I wanted to specialize with athletes in sports psychology. And we don't, at that time in Quebec, it was hard to be able to do that. So I took a lot of classes in the States. I did take some classes in Ottawa, some in New Brunswick, and also at Montreal University. So that way I was able to see a huge wide variety of ways of doing that, of using sports psychology. And now I feel really comfortable when I work with athletes to use all my background with CBT, with also abnormal psychology, and of course with the tools I've learned in sports psychology. And I feel that I can really do a complete intervention with my clients. And now that I can use even more NeuroTracker, I can add that. And something I realized with time, it's the way you react with NeuroTracker. It's really similar to the way you react in day-to-day life. So if, for example, you have a bad score, you miss 2, 3 trials in a row, then if you're mad, if you're angry, if you laugh, if you want to take pause, well, that's most of the time the way you react in day-to-day life. So for me, it's a great tool. I've been able to work on many different athletes and clientele. And same thing with chronic pain. There's so much thing that we can do, but at the same time, it's hard alone to work on chronic pain. And our clients that were coming in my office before, I was trying to do some mindfulness. 10 years ago or 15 years ago, mindfulness was not as popular. People didn't understand it. But at the same time, I said, well, how do I do that? But with NeuroTracker, let's say with Sustain, for example, I'm going to use that. I'm going to use other I'm going to not only Sustain, but Overload and other stuff like that. I'm going to do mindfulness with that. And the clients are more likely to do it. And that was fun. And the way why I do have clinics is because I wanted kinesiologists, physiotherapists, OT that could do also some physical work with them. So for chronic pain, it's good. But like I said, for ADHD, for athletes, I can have the full package with them. So it's a one-stop shop with my clinics. And this is what I wanted to do with my athletes, but with the normal population as well. Something I realize a lot with NeuroTracker, it's much easier to be in interaction with my clients, especially with teenagers. Sometimes they're 14, 15, 12 years old. They're not talking too much. I'm talking, doing the assessment. And after that, I'm doing a NeuroTracker session. Then it's opened up a lot of things. First of all, I can use these data to talk, to explain how the brain works, how the attention works. And after that, it opens a lot of things. So that's the way for me sometimes during a session when my clients has some issues or it's not in good mood. Sometimes I'm going to do NeuroTracker faster than I want in my planning. Then it helps me to get interaction and to discuss with my clients. In our clinics right now, the full baseline lasts almost 90 minutes at the beginning of the season, but they see the MD, the physiotherapist, they see me, this other professional. We do a huge variety of tests. And of course, our main test, it's the NeuroTracker, because a lot of tests are working on one specific area of the brain at the time, but we don't realize when we do a sports, it doesn't work that way. We have to integrate all these things at the same time. And for me right now, NeuroTracker is the best tool on the market to do that. So to be able to see if you're ready to return to play or even return to work at full capacity. Most tests right now, they're going to isolate one specific task, for example, awareness or attention, or for example, working memory. That's fun. It's important to know, but at the same time, we don't integrate all that. And when I'm working right now, I need to think, I need to process information, I need to react, and it's important. But at the same time, I won't have any hit to the head. Well, obviously, I hope. But if I'm a hockey player, football player, soccer player, not only have to look, analyze, and react, but at the same time, I need to comprehend and to do all these things in a split of a second. So if it takes only 0.2 seconds longer than it should, that's sometimes the difference between a goal and a mistake, or a concussion and being also only healthy. So for me, that was really important to add NeuroTracker to my practice, to be able to not isolate only one thing, but to work all these things at the same time. Therefore, I know if you can sustain, for example, a full hockey game or full practice at a high speed, because if you can't do it with NeuroTracker, obviously you won't be able to do it on the field. But the tools I was using before, unfortunately, they had good result in my office, but when they were on the field, they weren't able to do the right task. But NeuroTracker for me, yes, with the basic, with core, but after that, when you understand more NeuroTracker, when you add physical activities to it, dual task, then you realize that if they can't do it in your office, they won't be able to do it on the field. And I think it's also our job to make sure that athletes are their best when they return to play. And right now, it's tough to see that zone. Where are they fully ready? If they pass the test, are they good enough? So what are the tests legally also they have to do? But for us at our clinics, it's important that they have good scores with NeuroTracker. Something really important for me with NeuroTracker that for most people we don't realize it is the importance of 3D. And right now there are more and more studies about the importance of 3D in our day-to-day life, not only for concussion but also for performance. And we see a lot of studies about autism in 3D, nonverbal or any types basically of autism. If we can train their brain with 3D, we realize that, for example, the biological motion to be able to understand, to read people, it's going to be much better. When you're doing that, basically what it does is that, of course, it's going to increase neuroplasticity, and obviously you're going to be better quicker. But for me, the most important thing is the near and far transfer. We often don't really understand it properly. Whereas well, actually, I won't say anything, but there's a lot of things on the market right now that does near transfer. So you're improving that, which is really, really good, but we don't see a transfer in another field. So for me, it's good, but it's not what I want in my clinic. What I want business-wise, I know sometimes is that's not smart, because what I want you to come in my office. We're going to work hard for 3 months. And after that, you don't need to come back in my office. We're going to build, of course, we can always grow, but same time, I'm going to have what I want and you're going to have what you want. And that's called far transfer. So if you improve in one specific field with NeuroTracker, I know that you will improve in other day-to-day tasks. And for me, that was the key why I decided to use NeuroTracker, because I don't want only to work on one specific thing. Then you're stuck to come for life in my office. This is what I wanted. So I wanted to work hard with you for 2-3 months, increase your attention, increase your reaction time, increase your awareness, peripheral vision, all these things I could do with you in my office or remotely at home now, which is something it's really, really useful for athletes, but non-athletes as well. And that was a game changer for me when I realized how we could go with the brain. And when I realized that most limits that we have, it's the limits that we put ourselves, that NeuroTracker basically have no boundaries. So if you're ready to work, if you're ready to add tasks, it's amazing what we can do. And I realized that with years of practice, and a lot of clients are coming for that to improve their attention. And they know that if they improve with NeuroTracker, they're going to improve in day-to-day life. And that was the key for me. And the 3D, it's a big part of that. So that's really important to work with the 3D. A lot of people want to be too quick, and we see it on YouTube. We see it on many video that we see, for example, somebody on a treadmill doing stick handling while doing NeuroTracker. We see the one doing weightlifting. It's fun. It's something that we want. That's our goal to get there. But at the same time, we have to understand that to have the right neuroplasticity, to have the right improvement we want, we need to start the right way. So sitting down with core, then after that, we're building on that. But at the same time, when we see sometimes a plateau, or that we see basically that the athletes is ready, then we can increase other stuff. For example, dual task. It can be math, it can be anything basically that can help. You can throw a ball, they can do a lot of tasks while tracking tennis balls. And that's, for me, the key. Basically, when you add dual task, then you're going to trigger other parts of the brain. And while you trigger that, then I need to be even more aware. And we don't realize, I'm going to take the example of driving. Driving, technically, it's easy, especially on the highway on a sunny day. You drive, it's easy. But at the same time, when there's a lot of rain or snow or other type, then you need to focus more and you realize you're more tired. And I'm going to give you maybe the best example that maybe you did that once in your life, and maybe you're still doing it. When you park with your car and you need to a parallel, so between two cars, you're going to lower your music. So a lot of people doesn't realize it, but they're going to lower their music because they have to focus more. But why we're doing that? Because we have a certain amount of attention. If I need more than I think I have, then I'm stuck. And by doing dual task, then we can increase that. So basically by increasing attention, then I can do maybe two tasks at the same time the right way. But when I'm saying doing two tasks at the same time, we're talking about serial processes. So basically it's to do two things so fast so that we have the impression that we think we're doing two things at the same time, but that's the way the brain works. So by doing dual task, I can increase that. That's the best way of improving basically attention span and be able to do two things the right way. Some obviously are better than others. Some it's tougher as well, but some need some motivation. And I realized that especially with athletes, they can be really good sitting down. And when I say, okay, now we're going to do it standing, then they're much better than I think, because that's a stimulation that they needed. Others, it's the other way around. When they're standing, even though it doesn't seem that much, we see their score going down a lot. So we see that. And sometimes something I like to do, for example, it's okay, now you need to say the odd numbers first. Then after that, you need to do it from the biggest number to the lowest number. I'm going to do math with them. So I'm asking question, and sometimes I'm going to add stuff that you're going to have in day to day. Sometimes it's music, and all these things now, they're a lot integrated in the NeuroTrackerX, whereas before, as a clinician, you needed to arrive with a lot of these things. So I built a lot of specific protocols for a lot of different sports, but also situation. So for ADHD, for example, my protocols are different than if you're athletes, if you have chronic pain, if you have um, learning disabilities, the protocols will be different. But at the same time, my goal basically is to make sure you improve all the time, but at the same time that you have a challenge. If it's too quick, if I want to improve too quick and go with dual tasks too fast, most of the time motivation is going to decrease, and that's something I don't want. So we have to be aware of that. And I did mistakes also when I started. I'm going to use the concussion example. I said, okay, I'm going to lower the number of balls because 4 balls is too much. Let's start with 2. But at the same time, we don't realize that 90% of the time when you have a concussion, you have visual issues. So if the speed goes too fast, quickly, because you track only 2 balls instead of 4, while your vision issue is going to make you worse. So that's important sometimes that you adapt the speed and you adapt also number of targets, and don't only think about, okay, 4 targets is too much, we started with 2. No, the speed also has an impact. So to be able to adapt that, for me, made a huge change in my practice. NeuroTracker for me was always the core of my business. And with few modification that NeuroTracker did with years, I was able sometimes to use it with the app, for example, at home, but was not quite where I wanted because it was a bit limited. And even for me as a clinician, it was hard for me to see what was going on. Now with NeuroTrackerX, it changed everything, because now not only it's easy to use, it's also web-based now, so it's really easy. You don't need to download it necessarily in your computer. And all the data that I see now remotely, I can track your progress. I can also know this, yes, of course, the speed, but also the average, the near miss, all these things that for me before was important in my practice. I was taking notes that I was not able to see remotely. And for me, that was a limit, because to see only the score at the end, it's good, but it's not good enough for me to create the best protocol. And with NeuroTrackerX now, I have much more data to do this. So that's important. And with the COVID situation right now, I never had as many athletes wanted to do some things, because most athletes, when they want to perform, they're going to work on the physical part, obviously, the technical, the tactical, and sometimes the mental side. So psychologically and mentally, cognitively. But with COVID, they were not able to train much. They were not able to do any technical or tactical tools or exercises. So what left? Well, mental side. So a lot of teams, a lot of athletes that were calling it, Max, we need to do something. Can we do NeuroTracker? And with NeuroTrackerX, it opened that, because they were able to do 20 players at the same time. Whereas before, with a standalone system, well, I was coming, let's say, at the rink, at the in a football club, but they were limited because they were one by one. They needed to do it, so we need a lot of time. Now we have only half an hour. Doesn't matter. We have time to do 2 sessions each. They log in with NeuroTrackerX. They do 1-2 sessions back to back. Then after that, I can look at them, track the results, adapt, and on the spot, sometimes I can adapt for the second session, because most of the time what I like to do with athletes, it's for them to do 2 sessions back to back. Most of the time, one of them it's core, but the second one gonna pinpoint something I want them to improve, depending on their position on the field, or basically where they're at in their progress. So for me, NeuroTrackerX opened all these doors, whereas before it was not where I wanted to be. And with COVID, I think we opened even more that door of say, okay, what are we doing at home? And we have to realize that we have 168 hours a week. That's a lot. And a NeuroTracker session lasts what, 5-6 minutes? I think we have plenty of times in our week to do that. Understand sometime going with traffic, sometime going to see the clinician. It takes time, but at home you log in, do it for 5, 6, 10 minutes. Let's say you have your session done. So to do that 2, 3, 4 times a week, I think it's easy to do it. So it's a no-brainer. And a lot of kids that were coming in my office once a week, once every 2 weeks, or sometimes once a month because they had too much stuff going on. They say, Max, I want to do it more, but I'm limited in my time. Now they come once a month in my office, but remotely they're doing NeuroTracker at home, maybe every day, every second day, sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the evening, sometimes in the afternoon. And for me, it's really important. I want them to do it at other time of the day to see when is your attention better. If you have a hockey game most of the time in the evening, I want you to train your brain in the evening. I want to see how you react. If you have like anything specific in the morning, well, I want you able to see that. And even for homeworks, a lot of kids realize that after school, it's not the best time. But after dinner, their attention is better. Why do you know that? Because they did NeuroTracker, they realized that, so they adapt their schedule to that. And NeuroTracker X does that.